Since 2003, this is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source, into the Junk Be Gone studio. I promise you it's going to be a gold medal Sunday here on the show. Hey, I'd like to thank the U.S. Olympic hockey team for winning it in overtime as quickly as they did and letting us get on with our show. Hopefully a lot of folks have flipped over from the big victory of the United States beating Canada for the gold medal in hockey. We're going to be talking Tennessee today. We've got Joey Aguilar. That whole situation is coming up or came to a close on Friday. We're going to break it down. We're also going to talk about what impact that has on the season going forward. What can you expect record-wise? What can you expect from freshman quarterback? We'll look back through history at how Tennessee has done with freshman quarterbacks in the past. We will also talk Tennessee basketball, of course, as the Vols, they lost on the court on Friday, but they won on the court on Saturday, beating Vanderbilt for a big road win. We'll get into all that, and we'll also look at the latest bracket projections for the Volunteers. Let's get underway. First segment of our show brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. When you find yourself in need of a quality attorney, be sure you know that their track record is excellent, that they're local, that they know all the local figures in the East Tennessee justice system. Well, folks, if you want that, you want Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm. Proven, local. Visit garzalaw.com to learn more about these folks. We appreciate them always bringing you the Sports Source. All right, appreciate these guys showing up when I asked them. Right over here, Josh Ward. I don't know if you remember this guy, Will West. I think you guys did a little radio together.
I had tried to forget, but
99.1 The Sports Animal. You can hear these guys. You can find this guy at Go Vols 24/7. Ryan Callahan, thanks for being here. You can always find him whenever I've got a show to do. Bob Hodge pops up. Thank you for being. Whenever I call you, you show up. Thank you. That made it sound like I don't want you here. You just pop up. It's like, no, I beg you to come in. Okay. And by the way, I will say this again. If your DVR cuts off at noon, go to the Sports Source Digital Network to watch the rest of the show. We'll have it up there by this afternoon. Okay. As expected, controversial decision not to grant Joey Aguilar the injunction that gives him another year. That's going to come down on Friday, last thing, and it did. If you're going to have bad news or controversial news, anybody who's worked in the media knows, that's slip it in at the end of the news cycle, Friday afternoon. So that came out Friday. I'd kind of gone back and forth on the thing. I said on radio that I didn't think he would win initially because I thought that's just some judge is going to have to decide I'm going to blow up the whole system. We're at the NCAA's eligibility. While it isn't going to be a precedent, everybody else is going to try and follow it and use it. Then, as we got closer and closer to this thing, I'm like, no, you know what? It is local. I think he gets it. So I've been all over the place, but I can't say I'm surprised because obviously I was pretty 50-50 on this thing. Who here was surprised that Aguilar didn't get the win?
I was surprised. I was surprised. The biggest reason I was surprised is one side is brazenly unapologetically violating U.S. antitrust law. The other side is going to be harmed to the tune of $2 million. And I just kind of looked at that and said, someone's going to look at this and say, no, you don't just get to violate U.S. antitrust law without consequences, but I'm not shocked.
I'm not sure that the JUCO thing violates antitrust law.
Any of the eligibility rules where you can't get paid as a citizen of the United States of America to work for an entity that is no longer part of the university. It's a separate foundation now, right? So that is the part that surprises me that a judge didn't step in and call it balls and strikes. But the difference is this isn't a trial. This is an injunction. Did Joey's attorneys show irreparable, immediate harm was happening to him, or will it be like Zakai, where you can sue for the damages for the money they're not allowing you to make, but that doesn't mean you get to play right now?
Yeah.
So not shocked, but I am surprised.
The thing that's a little surprising to me was in the ruling granting the temporary restraining order, the same judge said, you got a good case here for damages. Mm-hmm. And then when he got he kept pushing during that court case, during that short hearing, okay, be more explicit in what the damages are here.
Right.
And apparently the $2 million wasn't enough.
I don't understand the reasoning on this one as much because the case was carried out so strangely. I mentioned this before. I thought that just the way the hearing played out, there wasn't enough discussion of what is the distinction between junior college and NCAA years. Why should those not count? It was more of a discussion of, like you said, the damages done. And it seemed like the judge didn't believe or didn't know what to believe as far as the market for quarterbacks and players in general. So I thought that was a little odd that that's how it played out. I'm interested to read more in depth about what the ruling exactly went on, because I couldn't really tell the judge's thought process as it was playing out. So I'm a little surprised by the ruling. Like you said, home court, I thought it was working in his favor. Just a little, I don't know, not clear on what the main thought process behind the decision was.
Well,
I was surprised. I was thinking it was 50-50, but I was still surprised because I thought the financial damage done to Aguilar would carry the day. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought when it all came down to it. Okay, we've seen so many different but similar things over the past few years, and it seems like the player typically wins. Yep. And the difference between $2.5 million potentially and not being looked at as much of a professional prospect, that's where I thought he would win it. So that's what surprised me, plus the fact that it was a home court.
Yeah, after he received the temporary restraining order, I thought that Joey would stand a good chance to win. So I guess if you said ahead of time, pick a side, which one's going to play out, I would have said, I think he'll get it. So by that definition, I'd be surprised. But in at least trying to figure out the judge's reasoning, I think he had a similar thought to what other judges have had. The judge in the Alberto Osuna case this past year, the baseball player that tried to get an extra year at UT, the concern of that slippery slope. What is this going to mean for the big picture of the future of college sports? And while that didn't seem to dominate the discussion in the hearing, afterward that appeared to be a real concern. And it was a concern of mine. It's a concern of a lot of people that weren't in favor of Aguilar winning this. Not for Aguilar himself, but for the future of college sports. And it appeared that he was concerned about that slippery slope, what this means for the eligibility conversation in college sports.
Exactly, and it also opens the door to anybody who had years when they played JUCO. That would technically mean, well, we're going to sue and come back. So technically, you'd have a 45-year-old guy who played 2 years of JUCO suing to come back and get 2 more years of eligibility to play college ball.
One thing we pointed out a lot in our show, and our buddy Jake Thompson is the one that he sends me every one of these cases every time a new one comes. In places where college football culturally is ingrained into society, judges are far more hesitant to overturn the apple cart. In places where it's with pro sports markets, they don't care. They just dump in balls and strikes. This is illegal. You don't get to do this. And that was my one concern for Joey in this one.
Yeah, it's. I just wonder if it was the right ruling. Does anyone here think that Joey got hosed by this?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I can't. I mean, you're.
Well, clearly you do, because you think it's all.
Well, you're a citizen of the United States of America. You had a chance to make $2 million. Someone's wildly and unapologetically violating U.S. antitrust law.
But here's the thing:
how can they be allowed to do that? It is going to cause some damages.
If that's the case, then no one ever has any right to ever say that something's eligible or ineligible.
Well, without being collectively bargained.
If I'm not hired by a company, can I not then go and say, you're keeping me from making money?
But if that company's trying to do that, and then if you're a lawyer and the law office is trying to hire you, and the Bar Association said, he's been a lawyer for too many years, he doesn't get to be a lawyer anymore, that would be, to me, an apples and apples comparison.
Well, the bar clearly has to, for now, has to be 4 years at the NCAA level. But the thing to me is, when you look at Joey Aguilar's career now, he got more years than he should. He had the junior college years and then 3 years at this level. So they kind of arbitrarily gave an extra year last year as a result of the Pavia situation. So the fact that there's not been a set criteria for the past year or two makes this harder to swallow, because you could certainly make the case legally for 4 years at the NCAA level to be the bar.
Well, you could, other than the fact that it's always been the way it is. And we can say that he's right, but he's gaming the system. My opinion, you're trying to game the system.
Or blow up the system.
Okay, blow it up. Nobody's ever done that before, which, hey, Kurt Flood was the first one to say we need free agency in sports. There's got to be a first. Okay. But you see these players, his baseball player in Nevada just got cleared. Problem was he had a COVID year in there. He'd only played 2 years. Most of the people who get the extra year, or like Trinidad Chambliss, it's a medical red shirt that for some reason they didn't get. It's you haven't been able to play a full allotment of college sports. You've been 2 years. There's a kid that just got a 9th year at Montana, I think, but he's only played 2 years. It's been 7 years of injuries and COVID and everything else. Aguilar's had a long time here to play. Now, right, you're saying 3 in college, 3 at the NCAA level, 2 JUCO, but it is a 5-year run over 6 or 7 years.
Right.
So
I think it was the right ruling. I think you got to have some rules. I'm not totally sold on your antitrust argument. I'm very, very close. But if that's what all this is going to hinge on, getting away from Joey right quick, you better start working on it now, because that's going to take years and years and years. So right now, in this moment, I wanted him to come back for the sake of watching UT win football games.
Yeah.
I think it was the right ruling from the aspect of, at some point in time, somebody has to draw a line somewhere that Joey Aguilar is not quarterbacking UT when he's 35.
Well,
and I'm not totally disagreeing with you, Will, but I'm disagreeing on the edges.
here's my concern is what if someone else has a similar case next year and wins it? Then how do Tennessee fans feel about this? Because it's very much a case by case thing.
Case
Depends
by
on the
case.
judge and the court system you're in. I mean, the fact that this isn't a precedent-setting decision
Same way some guy sitting in prison sits there and see his buddy get off.
Right.
It's like life ain't fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We may be saying that a year from now.
Yeah, this shuts it down for now. It doesn't necessarily shut it down.
No, it's going to
forever.
keep being poked at by everyone.
But the Chambliss case, that was about him. This didn't have an effect on any other player. Maybe it'll be referenced in future cases, but that doesn't mean it'll work for future cases. Aguilar was about more than just Joey Aguilar. His case that his attorneys appeared to make was about him.
And
But-
it almost
but
sounds
to-
like the
to the
judge had
judge-
questions about that. It's like, well, if this were a
Right.
bigger issue.
Right. Yeah, that didn't go with the judge looked at it like I think a lot of us did. No, this is about a lot of athletes, current and in the future, and I think that was a problem for Joey too.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seemed the judge seemed to go in both directions. You had him looking at it saying, "Okay, argue with me. Where's your damages?" And I'm sitting there thinking, "Well, he's $2 million. That's pretty clear."
He
Damages.
admitted at one point that he saw damages.
Yeah,
there.
but he kept asking about the damages, and he kept saying, "Look, is this just about you, or is this a real damage that's being done by this JUCO rule to people across the state?" And then he comes back, and it appears that he decided, "I don't want to do this because it is bigger than you." So I'm not sure. Maybe that's how this judge operates. He just asks questions, and he's gathering info, and you can't read into what the questions are. Possibly.
He was diligent. There was the judge. There's no question about that.
Well, and here's the thing. He's going to catch all kinds of heat. And I get it. As a Tennessee guy who covers them, I would have liked to have covered more wins next year, and I think Joey Aguilar would have helped with that. But at the same time, I kind of like the fact that some of these judges, it was a Tuscaloosa judge who was a donor who initially said, "Yeah, Bediako can play." Then everybody discovered you're a donor, and he had to recuse himself. And another Tuscaloosa judge stepped in and said, "No." So I think it's good. There's a reason all of these people file their court cases as close to the hometown stadium as they can. I think it says something for the justice system, just a little bit, that occasionally you don't just win because you are inside the county. I don't think that's a bad thing. So anyway, all right. We have much, much more on the impact of the Joey Aguilar situation coming up, how it impacts the team, did Tennessee miscalculate, what's it mean for the record going forward. But next, let's talk about a big volunteer victory. It's not for a gold medal, but it's for a state championship. You're one step closer to grabbing that thing. We'll talk about Tennessee Vanderbilt next. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. Boy, when you talk about a quality institution, and that's what it is. When you've been around 105 years, or actually 106 years now, that is an institution. That's A.G. Hines Company. Voted the Supplier of the Year by the Associated General Contractors here in the Knoxville region. That means in terms of building materials, you're not going to go anyplace finer. And you certainly aren't going to deal with finer people than the Hines family and their whole team. These good people. You're going to like them. A.G. Hines Company. If you're starting a building project of any size, scope, any time, that's where you started. A.G. Hines Company in downtown Knoxville on Hines Street. Easy to remember. All right. I want to welcome in the next two members of our panel. We're about to talk basketball, so we bring in former D1 basketball player at Milwaukee, former assistant coach here at Tennessee under Bruce Pearl, Mark Pankratz. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And right over there, whenever we turn the cameras on, Bob's on one side, Chuck's on the other. Chuck Cavaleras, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Tennessee improved to 20-7 on the season with a 69-65 come-from-behind win at Vanderbilt yesterday. It was the handsy kind of physical game that usually works out in Rick Barnes' favor. He likes those things. They let him play. Not a lot of fouls in that one in terms of ones that were called. Mark, I'll let you get us underway with your top takeaways from yesterday's victory in Nashville.
To me, that's a culture win. I mean, you got guys that have stayed with it. You know, Dwayne Brown playing 30 minutes, Boswell continuing to play, Amari Evans, Ethan Bird. You can go down the line. We were in foul trouble. JP's out. And our DNA of toughness, defense down the stretch really carried us through. And then you look at Coach has been able to keep these guys focused. And although they're not playing a bunch of minutes, they end up playing a bunch, and they really impact that game. You're able to go small down the stretch in the second half. You play 4 guards, putting Ament at the 4, and it spread the floor open, and it just changed things. And so that's a DNA culture win on the road. That's a big-time win.
Chuck, your thoughts?
I thought it was a true team win. You know, you played 8 players, right? They all got at least 15 minutes. So you're able to rest Gillespie some, and you need to do that. And you look at it, points in the paint, right, Mark? That's what Barnes preaches. Tennessee had a 40-22 edge in points in the paint. So the game, 20 lead changes, I go back to that. That's the most by either team. And Tennessee outscored them down the stretch last 3 minutes. I think 12-5.
Yeah.
So that's where the game's won.
When you're not turning the ball over, it makes it a lot easier.
That's
2
the thing.
games in a row under 10 turnovers.
Yep,
Right.
that's the thing.
Yeah, Vandy hits a 3 late to go up. It had to be reviewed, so it was correctly a 3 after they reviewed it. And Tennessee immediately responds. Bishop Boswell, he goes down, hits a tough layup, gets the rebound on the end, comes back, hits another shot. All of a sudden, Tennessee's up. Bishop Boswell responding there. He's not a go-to offensive guy, but they trust him to go to Boswell when they need, on either end of the floor. Different guys stepping up is huge. Nate hits a tough shot late. That's massive considering the game that he had, that he still trusts himself. Obviously, Tennessee's going to rely on him. Just, I agree, massive the way they responded, trailing a couple of times by 5 to 10 points and immediately responding after that.
That was the first time this team, to me, has looked like a Rick Barnes team all year. They were in your chest offensively. They was a physical game. They were throwing their bodies on the floor for basketballs. I mean, this does not look like a Rick Barnes basketball team for most of the year, in my opinion. But that was not a finesse team. And it was you used a lot of guys, next man up if you get in foul trouble. And we're going to defend. We're going to box out. We're going to dive after loose balls. And we're also not going to count on only 2 dudes to take 68% of our shots, which to me has been a problem for Tennessee this year. I thought it was a really nice win for the Vols.
Thought it was interesting. Nate Ament, you mentioned it, didn't have a great day. 3 of 13. It was his worst shooting day I guess since SEC play had started. It was his lowest point total, 13 points since early January. Obviously, Vanderbilt got physical with him, but with 50 seconds to go, he gave Tennessee the lead. Clock's ticking. He's got a guy all over him. Hits a beautiful shot to put that thing and give the Vols the lead. But my question, he has been so good, and you can't expect a guy to score 20 a night all year. Freshman, he's been really good. But the way Vanderbilt played him, was that just a one-time thing, just one night? Or the reason I was concerned about him getting physical there, and he's been getting more physical himself, obviously. You had J.P. Estrella say that a couple weeks ago after a game. But the way Vanderbilt went at him, you get to the NCAA tournament, they tend to let teams play a little bit more. So is this something that other teams are going to try and do and will be able to accomplish if he's not going to the foul line in the NCAA tournament, or was this just a one-off?
Well, I think we've been talking about teams being physical with him all year, and I think JP being out and Akbar being in foul trouble made us play a little bit smaller, and then you got bigger guys leaning on him. But I actually think the way that he responded tells me more about the special player he is. When you don't shoot well from the perimeter, you can go 6 for 6 from the free throw line, have 9 rebounds, and then mentally tough enough to be able to knock down a big time, basically the game-winning shot. That tells me more about where his mental space is, as opposed to a lot of great players. If they're shooting poorly, they check out when it gets down the stretch.
Any other thoughts about this game? Any other top takeaways you got?
I hope that this continues. I hope the willingness to allow other people to take shots, to me, is nice. I hope that they continue to defend this way. I hope they continue to dive after loose balls. I love to see that effort.
It's 8 wins their last 9 games, I think.
That's right. Yeah, 9 of 11.
Yeah, it's starting to come together at the right time. I'm always leery of saying that. Whenever I say check out or check in, the opposite then happens.
Yeah, the thing too, our DNA, talking about points in the paint, 12 threes. We played small, but we also didn't settle with taking perimeter jump shots. Ethan Berg attacking the lane, Jacoby attacking the lane, and then we had guys like Dwayne Brown and other guys that were able to step up, still dominating the offensive rebounds. It was a DNA win for us.
Okay.
Yeah, this freshman class, besides that we had big expectations for him, it's provided more than I expected. Dwayne Brown didn't get a lot of preseason talk. Kate Phillips goes down with the season-ending injury. Yeah. That changes the need there. But those minutes for Brown, the role that Evans has played, Henderson at different times has had to step up, that could come in handy because they'll be needed at some point in March.
Very good. Okay. When we come back, can the Vols count on J.P. Estrella? We've said all year that it would be great for him to be the number 3 guy. And when he's on the floor, he's really good. But there are some players out there who you can't count on due to injury issues. Is that what you're going to have with J.P. Estrella for his time at Tennessee? And then Rick Barnes. If you're still out there saying, no, Ray Mears was better. No, Bruce Pearl was better. The evidence is piling up in the other direction. We'll lay out the evidence next. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. The segment brought to you by Uncle Jim's River Cove Campground. Folks, the winter is going to be gone soon. It's going to be heating up. That means more and more people are going to be making their vacation plans. They're going to be trying to book spots, reservations at the River Cove Campground. If you want to beat them to it, you got to get there now. rivercovecampground.com to learn more. It's right on the Little Pigeon River. You're within driving distance, short driving distance of all the main attractions up there in Sevier County. Visit this place. Check them out online. You're going to be blown away. Whether you like to camp outside in a tent or you've got a great big RV that you like to roll in there, they can take care of you both ways. rivercovecampground.com. All right, we also have a poll question for you today. We're still talking basketball, but it's a football question. There you have it. How many regular season games will UT win without Joey Aguilar? And as always, the negative folks go there to the website first. It's always starts negative, and then we'll see what happens. You can vote with that QR code on the right just beneath the Hearthside Bank logo, or I guess it's on screen left to you. No, maybe it is screen right. It's not reversed. Screen right, just click it down there, and that will allow you to vote. The answer is, of course, less than 6, and that's winning right now. 6 or less, it should say. 7, 8, 9, 10. Nobody says 10, 11% saying 9. Then it goes 8 and 7 and less than 6, 33% of you.
89%
6 or less.
saying 8 or fewer wins. Wow.
Yeah, okay. Play, tell us what you think. Are the negative folks right? We'll get into the Aguilar situation a little later. First, I want to start with JP Estrella, and this is going to sound like I don't like him. I do like JP Estrella. I think he's a good player. I think he seems like a great kid. You ever see him interviewed, seems really likable. But he's just going to be one of those guys that appears that has always got something going against him physically. And you've seen that. You see it. Some guys make it all the way to the pros, but even though they're talented, even though they're super athletes, there's always a muscle pull. There's always something bad. He was out again yesterday with foot soreness. Is it safe to say at this point, and hopefully we'll jinx this in reverse, is it safe to say he's just one of those injury-prone guys?
I think he is. And look, you see this a lot with tall, skinny guys that play on the open floor. The foot issues, lower leg issues, those are the things it usually is. So right now, do you want to come back? Yeah, it'd be nice to have him, but I would have to look at him as a luxury item that's rims on my car, not a transmission on my car. And so I hope he's there. I would love to have him, but I don't know that if you're counting on your season, especially in tournament play, on him being able to play Thursday, Saturday, I don't know if I would do that.
We've continued to say all year, well, you're looking for a third guy. If the third guy, if you need one, it's got to be JP Estrella. That's who you want it to be. Ryan, can you count on that at this point? Can you count on JP Estrella being there for you at this point?
I don't know that you can consistently, to Will's point, but I think you have to. I mean, I think what he's shown is he can be that third guy, and I don't know who else they have on this team that's ready right now to be that additional scorer, and especially the inside scorer that they need to give this team the balance inside and out. So, yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, but I think it is tough to count on him because it's happened, 5 times at least throughout his career.
Mark, you're a former athlete, former coach. Your thoughts?
Well, and the thing about it, if it's not JP, if it is Dwayne, Jalen Carey, Akpart, JP's the only guy that can go make a play one-on-one in the post. He can make a move and maybe square up a further jump hook. Those other guys need to create an angle. Now, they're good at it, but the height. And so I think it really hurts us. He's obviously injury-prone from a general manager standpoint. If I'm looking at building out the roster, if you come to me with demands about a certain amount of money for NIL, this injury-prone bug is going to reduce the compensation that you're going to get going into next year. And from a coaching standpoint, you have to go look at what's available in there that's not been injury prone, because coaches love consistency. Even if you're bad consistently, I at least know you're bad every day and you can sit over here right by me. But if you're good and I can count on this, then I can put you out there. Injury prone is one of those things, as great as the kid is, makes it more frustrating, but it drives you crazy.
The most important ability is availability. That's the old line.
That's right.
Can't make the club if you're in the tub. We've heard them all. But there are guys who have had lengthy, successful pro careers, and you see teams keep throwing millions at them, basketball specifically. Well, Kristaps Porzingis. He's a tremendous player, but you just know he's going to be tremendous when he's out there. We can't count on him being there for 82 games in the full playoffs. But what can he give us when he's on the floor? And that guy's so good they throw a lot of money at him. JP Estrella is one of the, I think you nailed it. He's a luxury item. At this point, I don't know that you could depend on him being out there night after night simply because he seems to always
But
be
it's
banged
also
up.
like in the NBA, what college athletics is becoming is a tournament sport. And they don't remember your regular season. They're not going to remember what happens in November, December, January. It's about, is JP ready for March? And if Porzingis shows up and plays well in playoffs, the money's worth it. And that's how these coaches are going to start looking at it from a college basketball standpoint as well.
Sure. And look, you would hope that sitting him now takes care of the foot soreness and he'll be ready in March. Yep. That's the hope. Okay, next question. Or it's really not a question. It's more of a statement, I think. But Rick Barnes has now led Tennessee to 5 straight 20-win seasons. The last time that was done, it was our old buddy and Sports Source analyst Don DeVoe, who led Tennessee to 20 wins 1981 through 1985. So 80-81 through 80-45, 5 seasons. That's a remarkable feat for Tennessee, 5 straight 20-win seasons. This last week, he also locked in, I had it on the script and didn't mention it last week, 250 wins at Tennessee. His win percentage, if you take out his first 2 years, and you look at what he's done since 2017-2018, winning percentage of .734. That's better than Bruce Pearl, .704, better than Jerry Green, .712, better than Ray Mears, .713. That's 20 percentage points better than Ray Mears, which was the best run ever. Now, that counts out his first 2 years, but that shows you what he's done recently. You throw in the 2 Elite Eights, you throw in Sweet 16s on top of it, some championships, won an SEC tournament title. I just think that any debate folks want to have, you've had good coaches here. Bruce Pearl, Ray Mears, not so much Jerry Green, but they did win for 4 years. But I just think anybody who wants to have that argument that it's not Rick Barnes is simply ignoring facts at this point. What he's done, there's just too much evidence. You can't ignore it, my opinion.
Well, you know you're a good host when you bring it up when Buzz is not here. Right? All the great coaches, you're not bringing it up.
Yeah, I wasn't going to throw that at Buzz.
But, I do give credit for Mears and Pearl and DeVoe because they helped build Tennessee to what it is. But we also then can counter that with what was the turmoil that Tennessee basketball looked like when Barnes took over, right? And so it wasn't because I hear that argument, well, if it wasn't for Coach Pearl and what they did and the national recognition that they brought Tennessee, then Barnes couldn't do what it did. But what happened after Barnes? And what happened after Pearl? So I agree with you. I mean, I was part of the staff. I was part of Conzo. I talked. What Barnes has done is the best of all time.
He's the GOAT at Tennessee, and I would say also tip my cap to him for being a guy at his age that's an old school ball coach who has adjusted with the times when NIL, transfer portal, and all of that came, and got better as NIL, transfer portal, and all of those things came. And the rest of the guys in his generation kind of haven't.
So many of his age guys left.
Yeah.
And then you get younger guys like Jay Wright said, nope, don't need it.
Yep.
Bennett at Virginia, nope, I'm out. So you've got basically Pitino, Izzo, and Barnes are the old school guys who are still having success with this. It's really quite impressive. Ryan, is the verdict in?
I think so, and I've thought so like you for a little while now. I think that the resume is remarkable. To have this level of consistency is just hard to pull off. And again, Elite Eights. He's not gotten the Final Four, but he's made it as far as Tennessee's ever made it. On top of that,
well, exactly. That's the thing. I think if the Final Four thing would be a bigger issue here if somebody else had a streak of them. But since you're like the best program in the country to never reach a Final Four, it works against you, but it doesn't work against you like it would if you're following somebody who'd been to 4. So, okay. When we come back, UT didn't crack the NCAA's early top 16 bracket reveal. We'll show you who did. But they are projected in the updated projections by Jerry Palm, Joe Lenardi, CBS Sports. We'll show you those. Look at the brackets. We've still got more on Aguilar and the football team to come. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Since 1971, they've been protecting businesses and homes across East Tennessee. They protect my home. These are good people. The Haynes family have been running it, since it started in 71. When you talk about Southeast Termite and Pest Control, you're also talking about the last of the big family-owned pest control companies. It's the biggest, still family-owned here in East Tennessee. Keep the money local. Go with Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Visit southeasttermite.com today, preferably after the show. All right, let's take a look here. NCAA's top 16. They did their early bracket reveal yesterday. You see from the SEC, Florida is number 9 overall. Vanderbilt, 15. Not the SEC's year like it was last year when the whole tournament was basically looked like the SEC tournament. So Tennessee not in the top 16 means they're not a top 4 seed at the moment, according to the NCAA's own selection committee. But that was before the Vanderbilt win. Let's take a look at some of the projection. I'm going to give each one of you guys one to talk about. So first, let's talk about ESPN and Joe Lunardi. Josh, I'm giving you this one. He has Tennessee in the Midwest region. That's going to Chicago, Mark Pankrat's old stomping grounds. Number one, look at that. That is a loaded bracket. The top 4 seeds, Michigan, who's knocked you out of a million tournaments, Duke, Houston, Arizona. But he's got Tennessee starting out in Portland, Josh, against Yale in a 5-12 game, and then Cal Baptist, Virginia, waiting for them on the other side. Your thoughts on this bracket?
That's manageable. I would be okay with that if I'm Tennessee. Tennessee's probably going to go into that Virginia game thinking if they can get there, we'll play our game and we'll be better than them. So Tennessee wants to rise up, and I think they'll have a chance to flip and maybe be in the 4 in the end over the next 2 weeks. Yeah. But that spot right there could be okay for Tennessee.
Now, I don't think anybody wants to be in a 5-12 game, so you're hoping for that 4 seed to move up. Let's take a look at the next one, and that will be CBS Sports. And their projection, Mark Pankratz, I'll give you this one. This one is Michigan, Duke, Iowa State, and Arizona, Tobey Waka. Tennessee's path, they've got them in Portland, again, against South Florida in the 5-12 game, and then it's Liberty against Virginia again. Your thoughts on that bracket if that was what Tennessee were to draw?
Yeah, to pick up on what Josh was saying, I think the most important thing is our next 4 games, so that way we get this double bye that we currently have in the SEC tournament in preparation for the NCAA tournament to get that extra rest. I like the South Florida matchup, and then I like Virginia. Virginia's got a newer coach because, like you said, Coach Bennett retired, and so I like Barnes and staff have been there, done that. So I like that matchup of Virginia.
All right, let's take one more for Chuck Cavaliers here. This is from Palm Brackets. Jerry Palm no longer with CBS, so CBS has a formula they use. Now Jerry Palm does his own, so we'll bring you it too. Same top 4, same Midwest, number 5 as well. He's got them against number 12, Belmont, in the first round, so in-state. And then Virginia in the next round versus a UNC Wilmington team. Chuck, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I'm sure Jacoby Gillespie would like that, getting a rematch with Belmont. And it looks like the common thread in all these is what, Virginia?
Yeah.
So, I mean, so far it's doable, John. The thing that strikes me is we keep hearing one of these is going to be like the Legion of Death. Remember that, where you have so many good teams. Above all else, avoid the Legion of Death.
Yeah, the one with, I don't want to be in any bracket with Michigan.
No.
Or Houston, personally. Duke, you've taken care of a few times, although, and you hung with them earlier this year in an exhibition game before the season started.
Right.
But, if you're seeing a bracket that's got Michigan and Houston in it,
that's tough.
But everybody says Midwest at the moment. Everybody has them in a 5 game. Everybody has Virginia on the 4 line. And again, so much of this is math that the reason they all have the same things, it's math at this point. So you do have to hope you play yourself up into a 4. But overall, Midwest going to Chicago, I don't know that matters as long as you're not West Coast. Obviously, starting in Portland wouldn't be the dream. You'd rather be starting somewhere here and then going to Chicago. Yeah. Portland is about as far away as you can get, but if you're in the Chicago regional final, Vol fans would eat that up, I think.
Yeah, and again, I look at these next 4 games. We got to stay in that top 4 seed to be able to get that double bye for the SEC team.
And right now, 3 teams tied at 10-4, correct, in the SEC standings.
And if they go out west and Virginia's there, you don't lose anything to them because they'd also have to make that same trip because there's
biological clocks.
Yeah, everybody's putting them together right now. Obviously, that can change over the next few weeks, but at least they'd be making the same trip a little bit farther. Maybe.
Right. I mean, look, it's only a couple of weeks till we start doing the actual bracket, so it's time to start looking at these things, and we just break them down as if this is the deal. So, all right. And you see there in your poll, it's now moved up to 8 wins. Continue to click that and play with us. Mark Pankratz, thanks for coming in here today. I appreciate it as always. And we're going to get back into the Joey Aguilar situation. We'll talk Tennessee football next, including, well, was this a miscalculation on the part of the Tennessee Brain Trust over there, winding up with a pair of freshmen? Or did they go into the portal saying, if we find somebody better, great. If not, we're okay with these guys. Let's talk about that. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. The Downtown Knoxville Boat Show is coming right here to Knoxville between Thursday and Sunday. They will have special deals celebrating their 50th anniversary, Madisonville Marine will. They'll be right there. And they'll also, I'm guessing they'll have some sea hunt boats. That's the newest boat they're carrying, but boy, they carry everything. And like I say, dozens of boats they will have at the showroom at the Knoxville Downtown Boat Show at the Convention Center coming up this week, Thursday through Sunday. Folks, for 1 week only, there's no better place to buy a boat than the Knoxville Convention Center, where the Madisonville Marine booth will be set up. Get down there and see Joe Special and his team this week. All right. Tennessee, well, let me go ahead and put up the poll. I did this going to break, but we'll do it again. Under six or fewer wins, there's 13% of you have that. 28% of you say 7 wins. 39% of you say 8 wins. And then it drops off of 14% to 9 wins, 10 or more. So Sterling's watching. Appreciate you watching, Pearl. But go ahead, keep playing along. I like figuring out what you folks are thinking. But right now it's 8, which is kind of about where I would be. Okay, Tennessee did not cast a wide net for quarterbacks like some schools. I mean, it sounded like Lane Kiffin was talking to every quarterback that was out there. Tennessee kept it kind of tight. And then they reportedly offered less cash. I mean, LSU paid more to Sam Leavitt, supposedly. Tennessee and Miami both went after Ty Simpson. Miami offered him reportedly $2 million more than Tennessee did. Now, he didn't go to either place. Texas Tech paid more for Brendan Sorsby. And then when it looked like when you're losing Leavitt, rather than rush back and get Bo Prabula from Virginia, you're like, we're okay. And then you put in your paperwork with the Aguilar case. But there hadn't been a whole lot of talk about that going into the portal. It's like, we'll find somebody. It just didn't seem to me like they went in with their hair on fire. We got to get a quarterback, which leads to the question. Did they miscalculate on the quarterback? Did they think Aguilar was going to did they have a feeling that, oh no, we've got this thing with Aguilar in our hip pocket? Or do you think they just went in saying, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be okay with these guys. If we can get 1 or 2 guys who are better than this guy, we'll get them. But if not, we'll be all right with the freshmen. What do you think? Did they miscalculate?
Yeah, they miscalculated. They absolutely miscalculated. I think that part of that is Josh Heupel does not break certain rules that everyone else breaks, and that ends up becoming problematic a little bit for Tennessee, that Tennessee would not discuss the amount of money or what the offense is going to look like until the transfer portal opened. And most guys had made a had at least narrowed their list down by the time Tennessee got to them. I also think, look, you swung for the fences with the big names, and you missed all of them. And so when you miss on them, to me, maybe Ryan Staub was the guy in your head in your back pocket. There's something about that you liked, but clearly you don't travel to Martin, Tennessee to try to get Ty Simpson and not go to the NFL draft if you think DeGeorge McIntyre's ready. Okay. You don't go after Brendan Sorsby. Okay. You don't go after Sam Leavitt.
Okay, but let me ask you this. You offered them less money than these other schools. Well, does that mean you don't have the money?
Depending on what you believe. So they did come back to Leavitt. It was reported and offered him more than LSU, but at that point,
I missed that one. Okay,
it was done. You know what I mean? So and one thing that I was told was Tennessee was telling people, we'll get you comparable to what these other people are offering, as opposed to this amount of money is how much I'm giving you.
Okay, well that's something between their collective and the player then. Yeah. And that's an issue with the collective and the player.
Well, not having a GM.
You have to. Well, somebody should be able to say, whether it's a GM or not, somebody has to say, here's what we're paying you. I find it hard to believe. If that's the case, I find it very hard to believe that Tennessee just says, give you something.
Or we'll get you, this is how much you're being offered.
I don't see how they're signing anybody.
What I was told is, and again, this is right before the portal opened, that we'll get you comparable to that as opposed to we will give you a number.
Well, they had Leavitt in town for 2 days after the portal opened, so it's not like they had to throw the money at the beginning with Leavitt. Sorsby, they didn't jump in, and we know the reason. They said we can't tamper. We're going to get into that later. Gentlemen, did they miscalculate?
I don't think they did actually as much. I think here's where I am with it. George McIntyre, from the time he looked as good as he did in preseason camp, and we talked about it at the time, Tennessee shut down the competition, but if you talk to people that saw the scrimmages, he was the best guy out there in some of those scrimmages.
Which I kept saying last spring, why are you, if Aguilar isn't pulling away, why are you shutting this down?
Because they needed Aguilar as the veteran to be the guy. They brought him in to be the guy, and they weren't ready to start a true freshman who clearly needed to add weight. So from that point forward, they viewed him as the successor to Joey Aguilar. It's just that the season played out the way it did, and suddenly you go into the offseason thinking, we might need a transfer because we can't afford to roll the dice with a redshirt freshman. So I think they always viewed McIntyre as a suitable fallback plan. And that's why you didn't see them, to your point, go after Bo Pribula, go after other guys. They wanted to upgrade if they could, but if they couldn't get one of those top guys, it wasn't worth it.
Okay, as devil's advocate, that's the role. I devil's advocated him, and I'll devil's advocate you. Here's the thing. If they believe George McIntyre's that good and George McIntyre's the clear next guy, why the hell did you play Jake Merklinger as your first guy off the bench all year long? That made no sense.
Still a fair question. Yeah.
Okay, so 1, start telling people what you're going to pay him. 2, if you've got a clear number 2, let him be your first backup off the bench. There, fixing everything.
There you go.
Bob, did they miscalculate?
You know, I can't say they did because I don't know what they're thinking inside the coach's office. Did they see a couple of guys out there that they wanted in Simpson and Levitt and say, these guys fit, this is what we want, we're willing to pay, but we're not going to end up overpaying for somebody. And now the system's not like in the NFL where you've got a limited amount of money, and if you overpay this year, you're messing with what you got to be able to pay next year.
Yep.
Because that was originally what I was thinking. Okay, maybe they didn't, but maybe they just sit back and say, you know, this guy's better, this guy's better. These guys really aren't, so why should we dig up another $3.5 million to go get what we feel makes us no better?
We know that they calculated a better chance to win at the highest level with other quarterbacks because they went after them. Now, perhaps they should have been more aggressive going after them. It wasn't the greatest free agent class, or it wasn't the greatest class potentially available. I say that because Miami went after Darian Minsa when he was still at Duke. And there was the Damon Williams situation at Washington where he ends up staying. That's a whole other conversation.
Lawsuit threatened.
But that is an example of LSU Lane being willing to do a little more than Tennessee is obviously willing to do. That's a topic later. So they may have calculated that, hey, you said fine. We're fine with George or Faison. We're maybe not a playoff team with either of those guys. Let's see what we can do to get another quarterback to come in to raise our ceiling. If we don't end up there, the floor can still be high because they haven't had bad quarterback play yet under Josh Heupel. There have been different levels, but Joe Milton wasn't bad. He wasn't Hendon. So with George or Faison, they can still get good offensive production, good quarterback play, but obviously Josh Heupel wanted somebody else, somebody more proven than George or Faison for this season.
Am I wrong to look at this and say, I think they're completely cool with 7 or 8 wins a year?
I think you are.
I don't think they are.
I think you're wrong because you just fired a defensive coordinator, strength coach. No, I don't.
They were too aggressive in the offseason staff changes to say that they're fine with 7 or 8.
I would say this, though. I think when it's like free agency in pro sports. When it comes down to a bidding war, it comes down to who's most desperate. I think Tennessee wasn't quite as desperate as the Miamis of the world that had to have a quarterback to be competitive this year.
That's why I'm saying I don't know that it's a miscalculation.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from. I just don't know that it's a miscalculation because if you miscalculated, that tells me you thought, well, we'll get one of the top 3 because that's all we're really interested in. They didn't come out casting a huge net. Oh, my God, we got to get somebody. I mean, Miami was all over the place, throwing huge dollars. Tennessee didn't do that. And all I'm told is, Tennessee's got all the money in the world. So Tennessee could do that, supposedly. Well, they didn't. So that tells me they must have said, we're okay with George. If we don't get one of these 3 or 4 guys, we'll be with George.
Would they have gone in on Joey like they did, where all of a sudden he has a new lawyer who's worked with Tennessee before, and the lawsuit's being applied to state court, not federal court, right?
When we come back, let's get into that side of it. I just said we'll talk about it later. Later is next. Danny White said a couple of weeks ago that we can't tamper, we can't cheat, and everybody said, oh, the heck with it, the NCAA is toothless. Just do it and beat them in court. Don't know if you've noticed, you hadn't been beating them in court lately. So does that prove Danny White correct? Let's debate that next. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. Folks, they've got everything, games and things. If you're looking to update your entertainment room with fine furniture, well, they've got bars, they've got bar stools, they got pub tables, they got home theater seats like you wouldn't believe, great furniture. But then they've got all the stuff you love that you just want to have fun in there. Table tennis, got it. Pool table, got it. Air hockey, got it. Foosball, got it. Dartboard, got it. All the stuff that goes around with those things. Even vintage arcade games and jukeboxes. Visit their showroom, corner of Lovell Road and Kingston Pike. You'll spend days in there. They'll try and throw you out, but you'll spend days in there because it's just a great place to be. It's a fun place to be. Games and Things. If you can't make it out there, visit them online at ourgameroom.com. All right. When Danny White came out a few weeks ago and said he was calling for everybody else, we need rules to watch everybody else because they're bringing in bag men and they're tampering and all these things. We're on probation. We can't do that. A lot of people, including some of the media, were like, the NCAA's toothless, do it, just sue them in court if they come after you. Okay, well, for those who haven't been keeping track, Tennessee, and it wasn't Tennessee in court, but what Tennessee wanted to happen happened in the Spire Sports Nico Iamaleama NIL case. You got the win. You did not win with Joey Aguilar. You did not win with Zakai Ziegler. You did not win with Alberto Osuna. That's 3 out of 4 you've lost. Does that prove that Danny White was correct in what he was thinking, that, look, we can't go gambling with our program? Yeah, so I'm turning to you, Chuck. He felt like we can't go out and gamble the future of our program already on probation. And those people are like, NCAA can't do anything. I called BS on that. Was I right? Was Danny White right?
No,
or do you think, go after him, beat him in court?
You don't want to get caught with your hand in the cookie jar again. I don't care what people say about the NCAA. But here's the other thing, too. Danny White is keep pushing him for collective bargaining. He's biding his time saying, and I agree with him, that you don't want to be the one that's caught on the red carpet or have something else come up that you have got to go to court to explain. Bide your time, let it go by, and then whatever's going on is going on.
Does this change anybody's thinking here about how they should be handling things? The fact that for all the talk of, you'll whip the NCAA in court, well, the last 3 you haven't. Does that change anybody's thinking out there, do you think? Or anybody here? Josh?
Well, out there, probably not.
You're such a cheater. You're such a cheater. I know you're a Brad, Darren, or something.
Cheating Josh, that's what they call me.
That's what they call you.
Look, I don't think his point was wrong at all. I think part of the issue when those comments were made, the timing, because there was also the news of where they were with revenue and budget, and fans are thinking talent fees. Like, wait a minute, you have all this money, we need to have more talent. And that part's not wrong necessarily. But Danny's point, I think, was mostly correct. It is kind of funny, though. We're watching Lane do what he's doing at LSU. We're watching Miami do what it's doing. It's not like they haven't had issues with the NCAA in the past, and they're still doing it.
But they're
so
not
far,
currently on probation.
Not currently, but
then
they could be again.
Yeah, but if you're on probation and they catch you, then you're facing all that
extra
repeat offender stuff.
Can I say I think it's beyond probation, though? There has to be a reason why Danny White is the only athletics director in America saying we need a CBA, we need to do this. Tennessee is the only school out there publicly saying it, which makes me think they've let you know, don't publicly say that, and Tennessee's doing it anyway. So I think the unfortunate part is this. When you're in a world where the systems are broken and you're working within broken systems, sometimes leadership puts a bullseye on your back. If Chuck and I know that a CBA is the only way out of this, you know every other athletics director in America knows that a CBA is the only way out of this. But that's not the talking point. Tennessee has bucked the talking point, and I think it's put a bullseye on their backs.
I think they got a bullseye on the back because they've sued the NCAA.
Well, they're not the only
one. They've repeatedly gone at the NCAA. They'd cried about, we need rules, and the NCAA came back and said, all right, we gave you guidelines, and the guidelines show that you're cheating. And they were like, well, we're taking you to court, and they beat the NCAA. And you're on probation already. I just think that if you go out and tamper with Brendan Sorsby, getting back to that last segment, if you're the guy and you're telling him, and Josh Heupel's on the phone telling him, here's what we're going to do, you're going to get caught and hammered for something that Miami isn't right now. If they get Miami for tampering, that's offense number 1. If they get you for tampering while you've just done this and you've just sued them, I think they drop the... I think you are, the Wicked Witch of the East that got the house dropped on her? I think that's you.
You're the example they use.
Yeah, so I think the bullseye on you is on your back because of the lawsuit and because you are in trouble a lot.
And you're vocal, but you're vocal too.
Yes.
And I think that's you're not telling the company line.
And maybe that's where the Danny White thing comes in as well.
Right.
Yeah. But I do
you can't tamper the way Pete Golding is alleged to have tampered, the Ole Miss coach, where he's texting players who are on campus at another school. You can't have Josh Heupel doing those things. But we also can't sit here and believe that there was no communication taking place.
Well, Josh Hoover and Luke Altmaier last spring, right?
Yeah. Well, but it's one thing to do it through your collective. It seems like they're doing it. Now, if the collective isn't telling you what we'll pay you, that seems awfully strange.
But I was told by 2 people in the same day during the portal this year, Tennessee, Josh Heupel, when the portal's not open, will not say, this is what we're going to do, this is how you'll fit in, this is how much money, whereas 2 other head coaches at SEC schools would.
That sounds to me like we're playing by that set of rules. We're being by the letter of the law because we have to be because we're on probation. Finish this up.
Yeah, I would just say, in that part, I totally agree with Josh Heupel should not be going over that line as other schools appear to have.
Okay. When we come back, what does the loss of Aguilar mean for the Vols' record? We'll show you how the Vols have done with freshman quarterbacks over the last 30 years. It's interesting, and then we'll show you all the freshman quarterbacks who've started over the years. Very interesting. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Oakmont Station. If you're looking for a unique dinner spot, unique decor and ambiance, totally unique, ever-changing menu, unique craft cocktails, the word's unique, you need to get to Oakmont Station out in West Knoxville. Fantastic chef-driven food. It's the spot in West Knoxville to bring people together. ElkmontStationKnox.com to learn more. Crafty food and drink. Okay, let's reveal the final poll results. What do we got? Ooh, it's a tie. 7 and 8, both at 33%. So most of you, 66% of you, 2/3 of you out there say seven or 8 wins. And I will say, seconds after I said that Sterling was out there voting, I got a text that simply said, "You felt me, JP." Oh, baby. No, you're watching. All right. So 66%. Pearl, you've already voted, so you can't crack the tie there. But there you go. Okay. Thanks for playing along. I appreciate it. We can go ahead and take that out then. All right. Need fast answers here in this segment. What do we see in terms of Tennessee's record this year? You see them going 7 or 8 wins. Where are you, Bob? How many wins in the regular season?
7 or 8. If I had to,
Pick
I
one.
mean, seriously, if I have to pick one, I'll go 8.
What are you doing, Chuck?
Tougher schedule. I'm going 7.
7.
I'm going, higher ceiling with McIntyre than with Aguilar. That's where I probably differ from everybody else here. I think they have a lower floor too, though. The most likely outcome, I'll say 8.
I'll say 8 as well. How has Tennessee done over the last, I went back to the Peyton Manning year in 1994. How have they done when they've had to start freshman quarterbacks for at least 5 games? Okay, so a good chunk of the season. And again, somebody could come in behind one of these freshmen that's an older upperclassman. Don't have time to look at that. This is simply how they did when they started freshmen. Let's take a look at it. All right, last 2024, year before last, you went 10-3. You had a pretty good year with Nico Iamaleava. You made a college football playoff. That's a redshirt freshman. 8-5 back in 2019. You had 6 games that were started by Brian Maurer and J.T. Shrout. And yes, Garantano did come in for some of those, but you managed to go 8-5. It's not like Garantano was Peyton Manning coming off the bench. So 8-5. You had a 4-8 in 2017 that got Butch Jones fired. 2013, you were 5-7 when you had Nathan Peterman and Josh Dobbs starting games. In 2010, with Tyler Bray getting the last 5 games, went on a win streak, then lost the bowl game. Nick Stevens, in 2008, Nick Stevens started half those games. That was the final nail in Philip Fulmer's coffin that year. 2004, 10-3 with Ainge and Schaefer. Now you had Rick Clausen come in later. 8-4 in 2000, 8-4 in 1994. So when you've had to go with freshmen, and again, this isn't 12 games started by freshmen, you've had some success. The interesting thing here is so that's 5 out of those 9 years you had a winning record when you had to start at least 5 games as a freshman. But if you average all those out, it's 7-5.
Yeah.
That's 7. Right. So about 7. Let me ask you this: is 7 good enough this year?
To keep his job?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think he stays if he wins 7
I think
games?
if he loses 7 games, that there's a good chance Tennessee.
Yeah, that's just
I don't know. I
one
think he
game
may be
different than
saved
last
by
year. I think he's okay at 7.
You think he's okay?
I
at
think he's
7?
okay at 7.
I wouldn't want to test it if I'm him.
I wouldn't want to test it either, but I
Yeah.
wonder if spending the money on all those other positions
Yeah.
might buy another, because that's a
Right.
lot of buyouts.
I think if you get 7 or maybe even 8 wins, I think you need a season to end like
There you
Tyler
go.
Bray or what you saw with one of those young guys that the future looks incredibly bright.
Which
to
is
be able to sell.
tougher on paper this year because
Yes.
you close with
Yeah.
A&M, LSU, Vanderbilt. Okay, when we come back, all of the freshman quarterbacks Tennessee has started since 1984. We will show them to you. When I saw this list, I had forgotten some of the names. We'll see if you can remember the names. All the freshman starters in Tennessee since 1994. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. Folks, everybody needs a security system these days, especially one with cameras, automated right to your tablet, your phone, so you can keep an eye on your house. You can lock doors, you can turn lights on and off. Do it all from the touch of your hand, and from the palm of your hand, and the touch of your hand, I suppose. Although technically you could hold it in your hand and touch it with your foot. It would still work. Safety Systems, they can set up a perfect system for you, your home or your office or your business. Get in touch with him this week. Call VFL J.J. Surlis and his team for the best security systems in East Tennessee. All right, take a look here. We're going to run through all the freshman quarterbacks who have started at least one game over the last 30-something years. Nico Iamaleava, 13 games in 2024, obviously. Started the bowl game, the last game of his true freshman year, Citrus Bowl. In 2020, Harrison Bailey, not great. 1-2, the team went. That's with him starting. Again, other people can come in for you, etc. Brian Maurer and J.T. Shrout, Tennessee went 4-2 in those games that they started in 2019. 2017, you had Jarrett Garantano and Will McBride. It's funny, Maurer, Shrout, McBride, they all kind of run together for me. Josh Dobbs and Nathan Peterman. I think everybody remembers the Peterman start at Florida.
Yeah.
Let's flip to the next graphic going further back. Justin Worley got 3 starts as a freshman. Tyler Bray, 5 starts. Nick Stevens, 6 starts. Jonathan Crompton started 1 as a redshirt freshman. 2004, you had Ainge and Schaefer both started. I had forgotten James Banks started a game in 2002. Yeah. In 2000, before Casey Clausen got healthy, you had A.J. Suggs. And, of course, before that, you'd gone several years of that playing a freshman. But Peyton Manning started 8 games as a true freshman in 1994. And here's the thing. You're talking about what you want to see this year. Some of those guys are doing – Iamaleava had a lot of talent around him. They were able to protect him. And we'll ask that question in the next segment. Manning's a guy who started off kind of slow. There were people that preferred Brandon Stewart.
Right.
But then by the end of the year, he had a bowl game against Virginia Tech, and it's like, oh, my goodness, we're set for years to come. Or you have guys, Josh Dobbs, the team wasn't good, but you saw talent. You saw he was mobile, decent. You saw what he could do. So at least you've got to have something like that for McIntyre this year.
Yeah.
Even if it's not winning big down the stretch, you still have to show up in those games and give people a reason to think, okay, we found something there.
Yes. Yeah. No, and what I'm going to be looking for out of McIntyre this year is, one, we don't know how a lot of other pieces are going to be fitting on this team, but does he drop back? Does he react well to pressure? And is he accurate downfield? If he can do those things, even in games when they're losing, that gives you hope going forward. If he's throwing the ball to empty grass and he's panicking every time somebody even flashes by him, then I think that tells you, okay, you're going to have problems with this guy going forward, at least for a while. So I think there's things you can see, even if he's not great, that you go, but those are the traits of a good quarterback.
Right.
Yeah. And at least he's had time in the system. I think that's his big advantage right now, is have some time in the system. I want to see how the offensive line does.
We'll get to that next segment.
Okay.
Well, actually, this is your last segment.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's going to be a huge key for Tennessee, because you had some issues. Are they going to be able to pass protect? I don't think he fits this offense as well as some Tennessee quarterbacks have. And I think that's fair to say. So how do you kind of mesh those two things?
What are you hearing? Any word on, is he just eating pizza and milkshakes constantly? I mean, he has dietary issues that have prevented him from putting on weight like they had hoped. Are you hearing anything about, he's in the new weight program now. Are you hearing any rumors, any word about his size at this point?
Yeah, he's already put on a little bit of weight, and I think they're pretty optimistic things are going in the right direction. So I think he certainly knows, everyone around him knows that is mission number 1 for him this offseason. Obviously, he's got to continue to get himself mentally ready, but yeah, I think there's a lot of beliefs that they've at least got it figured out and moving in the right direction. He's already put on a little bit of weight.
Well, if he needs somebody with a weight plan to help put on weight, I can give him a call. Chuck, thanks for coming in here. I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, when we come back, I do want to talk about, does this Tennessee team have enough stuff to put around a freshman quarterback to protect him, like the Nico Iamaleava? Chuck mentioned the offensive line. You're going to be able to pass protect. You're going to be able to run the ball. That's the number 1 friend of a quarterback, young quarterback, run the ball. Are they going to have that? Are they going to have a great defense? Let's talk about that. Come on back on the Sports. Welcome back to the Sports Source. You caught me making notes. I was waiting for a little thing to come up there and it didn't come up, so making notes to myself. All right, last question, gentlemen. Vols have had some success with young quarterbacks. We talked about with Nico Iamaleava, but with Nico, you had a top 10 defense and the SEC's Offensive Player of the Year in Dylan Sampson. You were able to run that football, which whoever your freshman, your young quarterback, even if it's a rookie quarterback in the Super Bowl, wouldn't it be nice to be able to protect him and run the football? Not that my team knows anything about that, clearly. But do you think this Tennessee team, with a new defensive coordinator, is going to have the defense to protect, to help lean on a freshman, to help guard a freshman quarterback and not put it all on, okay, we need 35 points today, go get them, kid. Do you feel they're going to have an offensive line? They did not run the ball as well last year as they had previously. It dropped off. Are they going to be able to run the ball? Is the interior offensive line going to be better this year than it was last year in terms of the run game? Gentlemen, do you think they have enough to surround and protect a freshman quarterback to where they can get by and have a decent year with him? Or are they going to be asking him to do too much? Josh Ward.
Well, to your defensive question, maybe in a few games, I think the defense will be better than it was this past year. I'm confident there. Will it be like it was 2 seasons ago where they were able to ride the defense? I doubt that, because that's asking a lot of the defense, and the schedule is going to be tougher this upcoming season compared to what they saw 2 years ago. There'll be more playmaking opportunities, I think, for the quarterback. I think he'll have more skill help around him. To the offensive line, that's a big question to be answered in here in a few months. So right now, I would not be confident that they have everything needed to allow the quarterback to fall in line behind those other parts.
I agree. I have concerns about the offensive line. I have concerns about the defensive line. I think that they got better at safety, better at linebacker. You've got some big shoes to fill at cornerback. Did what they could there, but overall, can you say this team is better top to bottom across the board? I don't think you can. So that puts a lot on a redshirt freshman or freshman at quarterback.
Offensive tackle, defensive tackle, to me, those I have questions about. And I think that you're good at running back, but you're not Dylan Sampson playing in the NFL level good.
You know, I think it all is going to come down to exactly what you said. I mean, how are you going to be on the outside of your lines? And let me check that a little bit, because Tennessee also runs so much between their tackles. How are you going to be at guard? Right now, I don't see them having an offense that goes out and scores 35 or 40 points a game. And if you put him in situations where you have to do that, I think it makes for a longer season. So even with the questions on the offensive line, what you got at running back, receiver, et cetera, I think it's going to come down to your defense. If your defense is surprisingly good, then that lowers the bar that McIntyre needs to be able to cross. So I'm going to look at the defense as far as all these pieces.
Number one need to help him, you would put defense.
I would put defense.
What's your number one need to help him?
Protection, blocking.
I'm going run game. If you can run the ball and take the pressure off, that's where I would go. What's your number one thing?
I'll say protection, because that's what leads to bad throws and interceptions.
I'll go protection.
Okay. Last question. I'm going to have people that email me. They're like, well, you all just talked about McIntyre. Why didn't you talk about Faison Brandon? It may wind up being Faison Brandon, but at the same time, I think you've got to figure the guy who's been on campus for a year is probably that guy, especially the things that you heard that they liked him last year. It would seem to me that most people would assume that the guy who's been on campus has a leg up. Is Faison Brandon ready to step in his first year? From what you're hearing, you cover recruiting, so that's why I'm leaning on you.
He's got the number of starts you would like to see from the high school ranks and playing at a high level in high school to give him a chance. But I still think they view it as not ideal to have to throw him in there early. So I think George McIntyre's the leader in the clubhouse, no question.
Josh, Ryan, Bob, Will, thanks to all you guys. Thanks to our crew here at WATE for being with us today. Thanks to you for watching. I did want to close with a sad note. Most of you already know by now that the Knoxville media, Knoxville sports community lost someone in Wes Rucker this week. A tragic car accident earlier this week. Just a terrible situation, of course. Not only a sports writer, but more importantly, a young wife lost her husband, and one child who's here and one child on the way, both lost a father. Terrible. Thousands of college football fans and media personalities around the country have chimed in at GoFundMe, and I invite all of our viewers to do the same. Visit GoFundMe and search Team Rucker and see if you can help them. I know what this community does, and I know what this audience does. We'll see you next week right back here on the Sports Source. Thank you.